Sweating balls over here because it's summer here. Obviously, I know it's stating the obvious, but whenever I mention it to folks from the States, like, no, it's summer in Australia for Christmas. They're like, the fuck? What do you mean? Like, do you have snow? I'm like,
no, it's summer. I just said it's summer.
You can't fathom it. But like, do you get snow in Portland?
Oh yeah.
For real?
Not every year is it like a white Christmas. Generally, it's like after. It's like January, February we get the snow. But yeah, we've had snow on Christmas.
Look at me. I get like a giddy. Like, snow? At Christmas time?
I love the festivities have already started. Chris's hat.
Right?
We've got the Christmas tree here and the cheap
Very
garland.
festive.
You had to have that, So your Christmas lights.
Yes. All right. Welcome to the Misfit Christmas special. Birdie, roll those credits. From Sydney, Australia, all the way to Portland, USA, two misfits hang out after class to riff on the B-sides of professional life. These are your professional misfits. All the way from Sydney, Australia, I'm your host, Christopher Sellers.
And from Portland, Oregon, I'm Brody Atbox.
And we are your professional misfits, where we riff on the B-sides of professional life. And welcome to Season 3 and your Merry Christmas holiday special, Misfits. So this is a sneaky bonus episode that Brody and I thought we'd launch the season with. There's our little Misfit gift to you, because we've had a few developments between Season 2 and 3. So we're celebrating Christmas, obviously. It's the holiday period. And that's what this episode's going to be about. We're going in, this should launch just before Christmas, and holidays and Christmas and New Year and all that sort of stuff is great. It's a fun time for everyone. But there's also the other side of things, where it's family and it's stress and it's kids and it's juggling responsibilities. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. Like, Brody, you're juggling a lot of kids and a lot of responsibilities. So how's Christmas and New Year looking for you?
Juggling. That's perfect. Juggling. That's what it feels like. And you know what? You're juggling the emotions too. Too. But when we get into the episode, we'll get there.
All right. We'll definitely get into that. And obviously we're both in different hemispheres. So like a winter Christmas for Brody and an Australian summer Christmas for me. So we might talk a little bit about that. But so this is a sneaky Christmas bonus episode for you misfits and everyone watching at home. Because like I said, Season 3 for us, like we're celebrating, we've launched merch, we've launched pro services, we've launched a couple of secret videos as well that are coming out this season, and we've also launched Camp Misfit. So you can go to promisfitspodcast.com, you can follow all the links to find all the things and to go to Camp Misfit. And by the time this launches, it'll just be before Christmas. But Season 3 won't launch until the new year. So you've actually got to wait 1 or 2 weeks, unless Misfits, unless you join us at Camp Misfit, and you can get all the episodes 2 weeks in advance, and you can dive straight into Season 3, Episode 1, which is about popularity and whether it matters, and Episode 2, which was, is everyone creative? And Brody tries to make the case, and I say, no, absolutely not. So there's spoilers. You can come for that. But it's Christmas time, Brody. I have my festive hat. You have your tinsel in your tree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got a partner, you got kids. Walk me through Christmas Day. Walk me through Christmas Eve. Walk me through plans. What is it for Brody and Portland Misfits?
I mean, every year is a little bit different, because we've got the mixed family. So when you think about that, some kids are here on Christmas Eve one year and they're not on the next. And that's juggling. You got to schedule that. Yeah. You got to make sure that the other kids that are there with you are part of something too before they get there. Like, you've got to do some stuff.
It's my year this year. And or I'm going away, so you take them or something. Yep.
100%. And it's It's been good though. It's been good. Every year's been good. Even if it's been different, it's been good. Um, Christmas Eve looks a lot like trying to wind those guys down for bed. That's it. Like that's the only objective. Like, please, for the love of God, just go to
Me
sleep.
too.
Go to sleep.
Me
Go to
too.
sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And then Christmas Day is them waking up at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning and jumping on the bed and being like, "Hey, it's past fucking midnight. It's time to go." So
Did Santa come? Does Santa come?
yes, yes, he does. We do a little setup. We like I'll crumble up some of the cookies and hey, dude,
Nice.
my kids might listen to this.
You'll leave some cookies
O-
out for Santa,
only the oldest would, and if he
and you'll leave
was,
some milk out for Santa. I remember my folks left a carrot out for the reindeers one time, and they ate
yes,
the carrot, and I thought that's a
yes,
really nice touch.
clever,
Yeah.
clever. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, so Christmas Eve, Christmas Day for you.
Yeah, look, obviously no kids, so it's a tough. And I'm in Sydney, and my parents are in Newcastle, so they're about 2 hours north on a train.
Hmm.
And it's a little bit of a toss up every year of is it going to be Orphans Christmas in the city, or am I going to go home and do a bit of family? And I'll probably more than likely go home and do a little bit of family. But I try, I do love them, but I do try to reduce it to sort of show up Christmas Eve ish, do Christmas Day, and normally for us it's yeah, and then do Christmas Day and Boxing Day ish, maybe head home or the day after, something like that. So maybe a 2 or 3 day visit. My bros, and it's interesting because Mum's sister is in Victoria, which is a completely different state. So it's sort of biannual. One year it's up here with
Hmm.
them, down there the following year. So similar to sharing kids, really.
Hmm.
Because like 1 year it's up here, 1 year it's down there. And so for us, Christmas Eve is generally pretty chill. Morning of, you wake up and we all do Santa sacks. So we all have our little sacks, and Santa comes.
Stockings. That's what we call them here.
Right. Well, we have basically pillowcases, and we've each got our name on them. And here's a lovely Sellers family tradition because we've had the same sack since I guess we were born. So even my parents still have the same sacks. Right. So we've all got our sacks, and Santa leaves little treats and gifts in our sacks, and there might be specific gifts under the tree and all that sort of stuff. So it's I think it's sacks first, then breakfast, then presents. There's a very specific order because we're still children at heart, and you have to. I think the routine hasn't changed, so you need to manage children in some respect. Then presents, and then chill out, chill out, chill out. Generally, a big lunch. Back in the day that you used to all go to Nan's place, and the whole family would gather at Nan's for a big lunch. Would sprawl into supper and sort of everything else.
Hmm.
Um, a
Same,
lot of
actually.
lot of playing of cards. Where
Hmm. Spoons. It was spoons for us. Have you heard of that game?
no,
Spoons, where it's a circle of spoons, and it's kind of like musical chairs. But
right?
as soon as you call the game, everybody reaches for a spoon, and the last one to grab a spoon or not grab a spoon is out. So
And
that's
you take a spoon out each time to win.
yep.
Interesting, interesting.
It gets aggressive with highly competitive families.
Oh yeah, yeah. The cards is like that for us, and so it's old school 500 euchre, all sorts of variations of cards. If we've got new people, or someone's brought a new girlfriend or a new boy, new uncle or some shit, like, yeah, you might revert to Uno. You call it Uno in the States. We call it Uno here.
Guys, no, you do not.
We do. It's Uno.
Why? No, it's not.
Oh, here we go.
It's Uno.
Fight it out. Fight it out in the comments. Fight it
Oh
out in the
my.
comments, Misfits. I know
Oh.
all of Australia is with me. Um,
Okay, fair.
but and yet either way, it's super competitive, very very sharp, and it's great. Knives are sharpened. It's very competitive, and it's great because it's been a family tradition for as long as I've been alive, and even memories of playing like with your great grandmother who would fucking cheat. tricksy. So
Every fucking game, I swear, the grandmas cheat. Every fucking
it's
game.
supposed
If
to be these nice
Trouble,
little ladies.
Sorry, Monopoly, it doesn't matter what it was.
That's
Some
it.
way they're cheating. I know they
And
are.
even though like you're the beloved grandchildren, like fuck 'em. Like
They're
here's where
ruthless.
that's
They're
it. Like, here's where
ruthless.
you're gonna learn about life, kid. Like fuck yeah. You know, thank God
Yeah.
there was money on the table. Anyway, so that's generally how it's spent for us. And then okay, what's a tradition? What's a sort of traditional Portland US Christmas? Because I know obviously winter, right? Ours is going to be very, very different. So, like, do you go out and you build snowmen? What's the deal there?
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I mean, for us, it's all the family together most of the time on Christmas Eve, and then the other side of the family on Christmas Day. It used to be same thing where it was like my dad's side of the family, it was Christmas Day, and we'd all go over to the grandparents' house and
Right.
gather and that kind of thing. Now with the kids, and kind of the last few years too, with what was going on with my mom, things were a little closer knit, like it was more about, and it's funny the way that you framed it is like it is more about honoring little traditions, right? Like
Mm,
things that we could manage while she was here and
mm,
everything was still going. So that's what Christmas is here, I feel like, and for a lot of people too. And there's different traditions and tons of different little tiny things that people have that are specific, like the Santa
yeah,
sacks, like
I
that.
just remembered one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's very specific, but it's also cool too hearing about the carrot and like things like that too, because that's also things that we do, like honor that tradition, no matter even if there's kids catching on, we still got little ones that haven't, and even then you still want a piece of that, even as an
Mm,
adult. I saw this post the other day, and it was like when you grow up, you realize Christmas was just the effort of the parents behind it, and
yeah, nice.
that's kind of what we've tried to embody the last couple years. So that's all about the kids, things we can do. There's like little things. So like here on the river, there's Christmas ships, and we'll invite the family out, and we'll go sit on the river with some hot chocolate and watch the Christmas ships do their passing. And they're all
Nice.
decorated
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
lights,
yeah.
and some of them are playing music and things like that. So it's, yeah, the little traditions that we try to keep every year. And that's an American Christmas, and if there is snow, then yes, we're building snowmen, we're playing in the snow. Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, it's hearing you talk about the little traditions. So my old man grew up on the lake out here, and uh, where they live now is on the other side of the lake, basically where he grew up. And there's on Christmas Eve, really similar to your ships. On Christmas Eve, there's a ferry. It's the 1G ferry, and it comes around, and Santa's on the ferry. So Santa's on the ferry, and he'll stop off at each sort of point around the lake, and he'll get off and lollies for all the kids. So Christmas Eve is you sort of go down with your cousins, nieces, nephews, the
Hmm.
kids, watch the 1G ferry either go by or like Santa might stop off and do his thing. And like even now every year it's like, are we gonna go down and watch the 1G Queen go around the lake? It's like we might. And that's kind of cool. And then another little tradition that my mum's mum had, and we have we have
What?
so it's the sixpence song, and I don't know if anyone else is going to get this right. So sixpence is like obviously old English currency, right? And there was a period in time where in Australia's early history where we still used pounds and sixpence. We used British currency until we adopted the metric system, like all humane civilizations. Anyway, but we still had. But so there's
Yeah, I
this.
caught that.
Thanks. There was this gimmick. There was this ritual where we have we have like a Christmas pudding. We have a traditional Christmas pudding, and it normally takes about 6 months to stew and to make and to anyway. So it's a big thing. And
Stop it.
Yeah. So because
6 months?
well, you make it in June or July, and then because it's made with like a lot of rum and whatever else, you let it ferment and like sort of just bake and sit
There's
for
not
6
a
months.
single thing about that that sounds appetizing to
Hey,
me.
man. So and then on the day you warm it up and you serve it warm, and you might serve it with some custard or some ice cream, right?
Okay,
But
we're getting a little more on track.
right. But here's where it takes a bit of a turn, right? So what would happen is there's this tradition where my grandmother would have sixpence, like British sixpence, and hide them in the pudding, right? And so what you would do is when you eat the pudding and you find a coin, you go, "Hey, I've got sixpence," and then you have to sing the sixpence song, and everyone would sing with you, right? And it goes something like this, because I know everyone's like, "What the fuck is the sixpence song?" I'm like, all right, I hope I do my grandmother proud. You go, "I've got sixpence, jolly, jolly sixpence. I've got sixpence to last me all my life. I've got tuppence to spend, and tuppence to lend, and tuppence to take home to my wife." And then, and so, and so, any normally, so imagine 6 of you sitting around a dinner table. That means every time someone got sixpence, you'd have to sing it like 6 times because everyone gets their turn. And that's something really, really sweet. And even though my mum's mum has sort of passed on at least 10 or 15 years now, we still, need to have the Christmas pudding, need to have the sixpence song. At the end of lunch, she's got like a little coin purse that she puts all the washed sixpences back in and tightens it up and like puts it in the drawer for next Boxing Day or next Christmas. I think that's those little things, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
special.
no, it's funny because one of the questions I was going to frame to you was about food, and then you took it this direction. Yeah, I didn't mean to sound like an asshole, but I mean, just 6 months is a long time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a long
Well,
time.
it's kind of it's kind of like a wedding cake. You know those really old traditional, rich, fruity, dense as a fucking brick Christmas cakes. Just, I mean, wedding cakes without the icing, right? And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
sort of a bowl shape. There's a very famous children's book called The Magic Pudding in Australia, and it's based off that. Um, the book is based off the actual
Magic
pudding
pudding
tradition.
because it probably wrecks your ass, dude. Fermented for fucking 6 months.
Well, not as much as you would think. Not as much. Anyway, but if I'm doing a poor job explaining it, like again, the rest of Australia will back me up. It's Christmas pudding, and it's so. But here's the other thing.
We're
Here,
inserting a poll in there.
right. Here's the other thing as well, because like it's summer for us, and it's generally the middle of summer for us. So depending where you are in Oz, it's not uncommon for there to be heat waves slash bushfires slash 30, 40 degrees Celsius days.
During
So
Christmas was just such a wild concept. It's just such a
yeah. And I remember, yeah, it is. And so even though you might be locked inside for snow and cold, like we're locked inside because of oppressive heat and humidity. But a Boxing Day tradition, like an Australian Boxing Day tradition, is of it the day after Christmas. Everyone takes their new toys and all that sort of thing, and you head to the beach, baby. Like it's going to be a beautiful day. It's picnics on the beach. It's that sort of thing. So that's like an unofficial Australian clause.
That's a kick-ass fucking tradition.
It is, man.
I like
And
that.
and like, because a lot of kids have got their first boogie board, or they got their first wetsuit, or they got their first like whatever, so they're running into the ocean to kind of try out new toys. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I left. You asked about snow, and I kind of left out that, like, yeah, like I mean, there has been a couple years. It's been White Christmas. You do get it in the winter, right? You do get snow most of the time in the winter in some shape or form, but most of the time, Christmas is just fucking wet, dude. It's just
Right.
fucking wet, especially here in Portland.
Mm.
Like it's just wet, and it's funny listening you say that, because now I'm envious, because I'm like, I do like my little cozy in the house and by the fire kind of
It's
Christmas, but at the same time, like, how nice would it be to get out and go play with the new basketball, or
yeah,
whatever it is, and half the time it's just pissing cats and dogs on you. So.
yeah. Look, it's different,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're all about here, folks. Like, you're allowed to do it differently. You're allowed to have a Christmas in summer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember it's yeah,
How
yeah,
how
yeah.
weird would it be if you tried to hold holidays to like a seasonal standard? That'd be
Oh,
so
dude,
strange.
you would be surprised. Like, when I was living in London, or spent any time over there, they would look at me strangely, like, "What do you mean you don't have mulled wine? And what do you mean you don't have all of these, British Christmas tropes?" And I'm like, "Because it's fucking summer, and we're not British." And they're like, "I don't understand." Even, and I'm sure if any of these clips make it to YouTube Shorts, you'll still have a slew of Americans in the comments going, "But we have the greatest Christmas." Meh, 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 meh. I'm like,
I'm
okay,
curious to see what traditions they back, because in my mind, like, it's gonna sound kind of fucked up, or like I'm culturally retarded. I'm not
yeah,
sure, but like, I don't. There's not so much, like we were talking about, like an American dead set tradition to me in my mind, right? Like, so, like, it's not a turkey dinner on Christmas Eve. It's
yeah, yeah,
not the Boxing Day routine. It's like
yeah, yeah.
it's just generalized Christmas. You know what I mean? And like how anybody individually experiences their own Christmas, that's what it is. But
And
it's like
I'd reason that's the same for most people, to be honest. And
yeah.
but even so, then there's my European friends as well, where for them you do a lot of the festivities on Christmas Eve, on the
Mm-hmm,
24th.
yeah,
And Christmas Day is like whatever. But
yeah.
for them, it's
That's what's
Christmas
left over
Eve.
with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's midnight mass, it's Christmas Eve, because all these sorts of things. I'm like, all right, and even between them, it really varies between my Italian friends who are doing like whatever, and then my French friends who are like doing something else entirely.
Religiously, is that what you're kind of referencing there,
Either or, like
or
there's
just anything? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So even though the day that they do it on Christmas Eve, it's still completely different sort of routine and rituals, and then yeah,
yes,
family
yes.
sort of specific. What I do, and this will lead us into probably the second half of this conversation, but what I do remember about when I was with my ex, and one of our sort of, we had our own Christmas, because we knew Christmas Day, or like whatever, was going to be half at your place, half at my place, or Christmas Eve at my place and Christmas Day at your place, and all this fucking running around and just obligation and stress.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
we will.
New relationship? Were you guys new at the time, or was it
No, no.
still kind of?
I can't even remember. I can't even
Okay,
remember. But
okay, okay.
and it might have just fallen into, if we're doing this, then if we're doing that, then can we find some space just for us? And so early on, it became, we'll have our Christmas, like we'll do
Yep,
our thing,
yep.
and then the rest can be obligations. And that's, so this is the second half of this conversation, Misfits, is yes, family time can be great, yes, spending time with loved ones and whatever else can be warming once a year, but with this comes responsibility, comes obligation. For some of us, and I've been this guy a lot of the time, you don't have anyone to spend Christmas with. It's an orphan's Christmas. And unless someone offers, like, hey, come spend it with us, come
Right, or
hang
you
out,
insert yourself, which that shit is never.
can sometimes feel really awkward. So
God, yes, yeah.
no, I mean, yeah, like it's obviously, but it's a passive thing, isn't it? We move into this season of togetherness and love and blah 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 blah. Um, that is a positive thing, and that's fine. But that doesn't immediately mean that everyone's included and everyone's a part of it. There's a substantial percentage of the population and listeners who may not have anyone to be with, or anything to connect with, or or might not feel a part of that, and that can be really isolating and really polarized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you? I mean, in your experience, B, have you ever been through something like that?
I think more when I was a young adult and I was kind of making some poor decisions in general, I kind of isolated myself around the holidays, and kind of for that same exact sentiment is like I didn't, if the offer wasn't there, I wasn't going to insert myself. And like like I said, the decisions I was making wasn't making it easy to extend an offer to me. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? So I get it. But even then, it's really hard because, God bless my mother. She made an effort, no matter the situation, no matter who I was at the time or how I was acting, to try to make sure I was included and I had something to be a part of. So
Mm,
I can't say that I know that feeling fully. Because even though I was making that decision and I was self-isolating, that's not the same. That's not the same as I don't have anywhere to go.
yeah.
So I don't know that feeling, but I'm glad we're here, because it is one thing I wanted to talk about. Because one of the things, as a parent specifically, I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the magic for the kids, right?
Mm,
Like, what can we do to provide that kind of experience for the kids so that carries on with them, and they,
mm, mm.
blah blah blah. Um, that's the as much as that's extremely enjoyable in the moment, right? Once you've achieved success, like you're there in the moment, you're at the lights, you're at the Christmas show, you're whatever you're doing. Um, that's all great, but leading up to that, and sometimes even after, it's a real eye opener that you're not having the same experiences as the kids, and you're not you've got a little more responsibility in the situation than what is perceived most of the time. And
Mm.
it's so funny because I think we look at other families or other adults and we're just like, damn, that shit just fell right into place for him, or blah blah blah. And it's like, dude,
Always.
you have no idea. Like, they just
Those,
wrangled 4 fucking kids for half an hour to get him in the car alone. Like, get him in the car alone.
those Christmas lights just appeared on the front lawn. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
And
100%. Yeah.
here's something else. Here's the quiet part out loud as well. It's fucking expensive.
Oh my god.
I didn't even have kids, and
Thank
I
you for bringing
know,
that up. Yeah.
come on, folks. Like, 'tis the season and all of that. Yes, it's also brutally expensive. And
Brutally.
what's
Thank you. That's a great fucking way to put it, because it does. It fucking hits you. That's the thing. It's not just like an expense that wanders by, right? Where you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
and
It's like the motherfucker that walks into the fight club ready to kill your ass. Like that. It feels like that shit sometimes. And the reason I say that is because you're right at the end of the year too. Fuck, you've already
yeah,
had the full year behind you that you've made through whatever financial crisis or
yep.
emotional situation, and fuck, you're here, and it's the most fucking expensive time.
I'd say I would say that it's compound as well, because there's an expectation that, just like you're saying, like, it's got to be great for the kids, or even like with other family, like keeping up those appearances, like showing up, like having the right gift for the right person and not being fucking cheap and all of this. And I mean, uh, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's, and not shit, man. Not everyone can do that. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone can show up in that way. Not everyone can provide. Not everyone wants to. And it's and as well, what you were saying, like, it's right at the end of the year. Yeah, good luck. And then there's New Year's.
That's what.
So,
Good luck.
so it's both barrels within the space of a week. And if depending what sort of gig you're working, like, you're not working for about 2 weeks, like towards the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year, maybe a month,
Yep. Yep.
right? So if you're freelancing, or if you're
End of the quarter is just fucked. Yeah.
all of that.
It's
So
interesting that you say that, because it brought up cycling back to traditions, a tradition that my grandmother, and I think, thank God I went through it, and she went through a period of time and circumstance where she had to be a little more educated and reserved about the financial decisions she was making, right? So that appears in what she tries to do later. When we were kids, oftentimes there was 4 or 5 grandkids that go spend a couple days during the Christmas break over at her house. And she would get together $5 to $10 for each kid. And we'd go up to the Dollar General and pick out gifts, right? And whether it was just a little ceramic star or whatever it was, and then we would hand wrap them, we would write out the notes and things like that. That meant more to people than most of the time the huge gifts that they get, because the number one, the kids generally don't buy gifts for the adults, right? But we did. And it was just that general spirit of giving, right? It didn't matter about what you were receiving. That was not the point. It was just
it's the effort.
The ability to give anything, even if it's $1 gift. It's the fact that you tried, you went through that effort, and that's one tradition that I might need to bring back. I think that's it's strange that it's hitting me like this, because I'm sure we've talked about it in the last 10 years since I've had kids, but yeah, that went away when I grew up and we stopped spending the night at Gigi's house. And yeah, I think that needs to come back. So cool.
Well, it also, while we're in this space, and you're in a similar position, because there's a friend of mine who, his mum also passed away at the beginning of this year, and he also had his first kid. His partner had his first kid. So Christmas for him is the first Christmas without his mother, but the first Christmas with his new son. So again, if we're being misfits and we're talking about all the stuff that people don't talk about, we have to acknowledge, and you've talked about it before, that holidays with this expectation of family and getting together, and and past rituals and things that you bring, there's got to be an acknowledgement that sometimes things shift, and Christmas and New Year can be like in a really emotional place for a lot of people for reasons they might not fully understand at the time, and that can be really fucking challenging. So I didn't want to, forgive me if I've outed you in
no it's good that we're here. I think that's a valid point, and I think for someone like me, if I'm being honest and transparent here, it's better for me to have the situation or the conversation presented, because if it hadn't been, I'm very good at disconnecting. I'm very good at disengaging from things that I know are gonna be hard emotionally. And it's funny that you say that. Yeah, like this is a first for me. This is my first Christmas ever without my mother, and that's it's a weird, strange revelation. And I think really pondering it, like, of course I'm gonna miss our little traditions. Like we'd hide a ornament, the Christmas pickle, me and my sister and my mom, and that was our thing. Whoever found it in the tree got an extra present. So stuff like that that yeah, of course I'm gonna miss. But you bringing up your friend and his kid too, it kind of, what really hit me in this moment and realizing that it's going to be tough is that we're not building those with my kids anymore, right? Like that's not something they get to carry on and have as part of their experience, and that's kind of crushing. if I'm being totally honest, that's a heavy one. That's a heavy one that I hadn't really stared in the mirror yet. And I think, like you said, I think the crazy thing about the holidays is because of the kind of chaotic mess that it is you overlook so much shit and you misidentify, I think, a lot of fucking things that might be triggering really heavy emotional responses, whether that's physical, whether that's mental, behavioral. It's
Emotional, financial, just everything. It's a lot of
it
pressure. A
right.
lot of pressure.
It's a lot, and again, I think people just kind of brush right over that. They're like, well,
And so I'd like to think that part of the reason why we're doing this episode, and because we flagged it early, because we knew we were going to probably launch it about this time, is talk about sort of, I mean, not the dark side of Christmas. That's not fair, but like all of Christmas. Like
mm-hmm,
it's nice to focus on the carols and the lights. There's
mm-hmm,
also the shadow side of things,
mm-hmm,
and look, I've got a huge investment in emotional and mental well-being and mental health. And it is no coincidence that like the rate of suicides and self-harm like escalates exponentially at this time of year for all of these reasons that we discussed, like enormous amount of pressure normally coming from outside forces, and like we all feel responsible to live up to certain expectations at the holidays. And at the end of a long year, a long end of a hard year, and for all the reasons you just explained, people often don't feel like they have the support or understanding or capacity to deal with it. So it's number one. I think the conversation is important. Number two, now that we sort of recognize that this stuff goes on also, you can watch your kids unwrap presents with the biggest smile on their face and still feel like fucking got to make it happen by January 1st. And I think that's a very real experience for a lot of people. So, as misfits, how can we step into Christmas? How can we approach the holidays in a way that's going to keep us sane and going to keep us connected and grounded and just sort of healthy? That's what I want to talk about for the third half of this episode. Third half, but you know what I mean.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about, or am I?
I do, yeah, I do, and it's. I mean, this week, I'll be honest with you, has been an eye opener for me. And you and I have had this conversation since the break from season 2 into season 3. We've done a ton on the services side, so we've been busy in that respect, and that's right around the time that I made the leap to be a full-time misfit as well, and shit happens, and I had some financial stuff and blah blah blah. Routine is so fucking important. I know it sounds ridiculously cliche. I know it doesn't sound groundbreaking or like I'm reinventing the wheel, but I don't think a lot of the times you have to. And I think, again, with the holidays, because of kind of its own set of routines and traditions, you may lose out on your own, right? For maybe that full month and a half that you're going through that stuff. It's kind of become a non-negotiable for me, and especially starting this week. Like I'm back up at 4 again. I'm in bed by 10. I hit the gym in the morning. I have a gym session after our recording. And getting back into that has made me feel a lot more solid in this kind of chaotic state. I can still. It's almost like you were saying with watching the kids, right? You can watch the kids and still kind of have something going on in the back of your mind. You can play two pieces, right? It's the same thing here, where you can dive into the holidays and you can invest and schedule and be a part of it, but you can also maintain your routine, your sanity, your your normalcy, and I think that's been for me the most practical and the most impactful. And just another thing I think is lost in the mix. You just don't even realize it's the weekends when you're scheduling going to the next relatives or the lights or the downtown festival or the tree lighting or whatever it may be, that you're like, holy shit, I haven't been to the gym in a week. That's not good. You know what I mean? Like that'll mess with you subconsciously and that'll mess with you in a very physical way as well. So yeah, for me it's that simple and cliche, like stepping right back into the routine that I'm very actively being pulled out of, but being able to finesse it in there too and kind of problem solve that as well also kind of gives me a sense of accomplishment in this kind of season, right? Like I think a lot of people, number one, don't want to manage that, and then number two, when they try to get there, it might be something that something's going to sacrifice on one end, you know. And yeah, so that's it for me. What about you? I mean, I don't, you know, again, I don't, for the misfits at home, we try so fucking hard to stay away from this will solve it. You know what I mean? Like this is just us speaking from experience that it's like,
yeah, there's no
the
six
best you got,
steps.
you know, like, yeah.
It's probably similar. It's it is carving out time for myself. It's also I think what helps doing that is being really clear with expectations with other people before Christmas hits, right? Because like if you're negotiating 2 or 3 days before, there's always more pressure, more panic, more responsibility to take everything on, right? But normally heading into December, a couple of weeks out, it's like, where do I have to be? Who has to be where? Like, what are the immutable conditions? Great. Like, so Christmas this year is at my parents' place. Am I going to do that? Yes, no, maybe so. If I am, then I'm going to go up at this time. I'm going to be back by this time. And so for me, I can mentally prepare. This is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to be doing. And so once I get back, what you're saying, I can sort of step back into my routine of whatever that happens to be. I'll flag something as well for everyone else.
Do you try to take your routine with you?
I don't like at the moment.
So for instance, Chris just got back from vacation from Phuket.
Yeah.
You had posted a picture on LinkedIn. I know you had a couple morning swims, but that's what I mean. Did you find that the routine followed, or did the routine change?
In this circumstance, the routine followed because I could. We were staying at a resort, and the resort was on Macau Beach, which was sublime and gorgeous. And I would get up. I was up before everyone anyway, and so I could walk straight down into the sea and get my swim and then walk back in time to like pick up breakfast. And it was kind of like, and so that's sort of my normal routine anyway. It's like wake up, swim, breakfast at the cafe. So it was wake up, swim, breakfast at the resort. But to your point, what I would do, because I like my alone time, is I'd swim, I'd be getting my breakfast, I'd still take my journal and do all that sort of stuff. And then after I've sort of had half an hour, 45 or whatever, then I might put in the group chat, like, hey, I'm getting breakfast if anyone wants to join. So I'm not overwhelmed with family first thing in the morning when I know I'm probably going to be spending all day with them. You know what I mean? I'd negotiate my personal boundaries.
Pretty damn smart.
I'd negotiate my personal boundaries in that way. But also to their credit, they know me well enough as like a little independent soul who needs his quiet time. They're probably not offended that they're being manipulated is not the right word, but guided, I suppose. Again, it's being clear about my expectations of I'm available at these times and what have you. And what I was going to say just before this as well, like if you're starting to get into the mix of all the responsibilities in the world, like you're allowed to say no at Christmas.
Thank you. This is exactly where I wanted this last part to lead, is the boundaries. Like
you're allowed to say no. And even at New Year's, like you're allowed to say no. You have this option. We're giving you permission if you feel like you didn't have it, right? And normally I found that most mature adults are fine with that. You know what I mean? If you say no to someone, they're like, "But what do you mean? But we're doing this," and turn into a big guilt trip thing, then you've definitely made the right decision.
Oh,
Saying that.
100%. Same. I was going to follow on the example of my father going to Mexico.
Oh, right,
So
right.
again, first Christmas without mom. Dad's heading off to Mexico. I'm a mature adult. Of course, I would be naive and dishonest to say that there's not a piece of me that is tickled by it, right? Like I wish maybe it was a little different,
Mm.
but at the same time, again, maturity kicks in, and I go, "This isn't about me. This isn't about," and it doesn't have to be. I mean, what a weird sense of ego to be stuck in, and especially around this time too. This is his first holiday
Yeah.
for 25 plus years without the person that he has loved intimately. That's got to be, yeah, you know. So I
Yeah.
like that you took it there. The number one, the boundaries, right? Like, what do I need to do for myself? Is it a trip to Mexico? Is it,
That's that's a that's sorry. That's a really good point. I guess because it mirrors something we raised earlier. That, like, yes, it's your first Christmas without your mum. It's also his first Christmas without his partner and his wife. And so part of us, and I'll out you a little bit here. I'm sure you won't mind. When you first got news of this, and you sat to me, it's like, he's going to Mexico. Like, the fuck? Like, I don't have my mum. I don't have my dad. Like, what are my kids are going to do? And we sort of worked through it. And it's right that some of us might judge or have an opinion. But then also in their shoes, like, first Christmas without his partner, like, how do you cope? And so for some, being around same people, same place, same whatever is going to present a different sort of pressure. Whereas, taking yourself away, giving yourself a break, like, taking permission to say no to everyone and prioritizing yourself first.
well, and the thing is too, I feel like
Yeah.
on the nose there, and in the way that, look, it for him too. I feel like it's so incredible. It would be so incredibly selfish of me to feel a particular way and about it that it would change my behavior towards him. Because again, it's the 25 years plus with the same person.
Mm.
Every holiday is the same. Those traditions. It you phrased it as pressure, and I don't know if I necessarily see it as pressure. It's just so much as heartbreak, right? Like, how
Mhm,
much
mhm.
can you just fucking sit there and take a fucking beating that shit? I'm all that's left, and I it just makes even more sense to me now, speaking it out loud and talking about it, and that's what I would hope for you, Misfits at home. You know, if you're
Mm.
struggling with something, seriously, find somebody, and it doesn't have to be this preconceived conversation. Just bring it up in a natural sense that if there's a way that you can explore something like this, it helps. Oh my God, it helps.
There is a there was a cool sort of trend and tradition a while ago. I don't know if it's still around, but coming into Christmas, like, a few of my single friends or even like couples just went, cool, like, we're out. We're like either skipping town or we're getting out of the country or whatever. It's like, we're not doing any of this. We're not doing any of this, like, family carousel bullshit. Like, we are us first, our peace and sanity, peace out, mic drop, turned everything off. Obviously business uncontactable. Ciao.
I
Um,
think it's becoming more common. I think it's becoming more common
right.
because I think less people are. And okay, this is where I'm going to get controversial. I think less and less people are buying into Christmas in general. Like, it's strange, the conversations that I've seen on Facebook and like LinkedIn this season, where it's like, we don't necessarily care about the gifts. We're not looking at the family functions so much, the parties, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Where it's more about, the intimate connection that you have with the people that this time of year genuinely make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Like, the people that make you invest in them, invest in those people. because I tell you what, they're going to do it all next year too. And you're not going to fucking be able to repay them. You're going to keep stacking this debt. But if you can take this time to really re-centralize and focus on the people and the things that move the needle for you in the most positive way, I think that's when you see the highest return of positivity, right? Because inherently it's just going to fucking feel good to be of service to the ones that you feel have helped you.
What's been your best Christmas?
Best Christmas.
Yeah.
Best Christmas. Okay. It stuck out pretty quick, actually. It was probably 3 to 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were living in a duplex, and money was just kind of fucked. And I was incredibly stressed. Tiff was incredibly stressed. And I remember getting to Christmas Eve, and that night we stayed up so we could set the presents out and do the Santa stuff. And it didn't even hit me until we were right there that we made it.
Right.
And that kind of that moment. It wasn't particularly the next day, the kids opening the gifts or anything. It was just that I caught it, you know what I mean? And it felt, yeah, there was just something very real and visceral about it, you know, and I feel like I learned what mattered, you know, and I'd say it was that Christmas for me. It wasn't a Christmas about a specific gift or, you know, an event or someone, you know. Funny enough, I am recalling that entire Christmas season. That is also the Christmas that I stabbed myself in the leg about 1.5 inches deep and about 10 centimeters away from a vein. That was a good Christmas altogether.
Ow.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
All right, fair enough.
I was trying to open a tool set
Excellent.
that I
And you
had
used a
got.
knife to cut through something and
And
it slipped and
slipped right into the fucking leg, and I looked at Tiffany.
amazing.
I looked at Tiffany, and I just pulled it right out, and it went. I was like, I freaked because
Yeah,
I'm not good with blood. I'll be
me
honest
neither.
with you,
Me
Misfits. I
neither.
don't
I'm a
give a
pussy.
fuck how. Yeah, I don't give a fuck if it makes me. If I'm emasculating myself right now, blood fucks with me, bro. I'll pass out. I'll just pass out. So seeing that shit, I was like, holy fuck, let's call somebody because I think I'm about to die on the floor. Okay, your turn. Best Christmas. Best Christmas.
Look, I have a lot of fond memories from all the stuff that we talked about earlier. The one that immediately jumped to mind was probably it was Christmas before COVID. So it was 4 months before COVID. So I think it was what 2019, and it was well down in Vic. It was Victoria, and here you go for the Misfit timeline. I was still working at this media production company with the chick that was like sexually harassing me, and I knew I had to get out by Jan or whatever. We had
season 1, right? You can go back
yes,
season 1.
I think so. To being sexually harassed. No, season 2. Yeah, I remember the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, yep. Nope, you're right. You're right.
Cool.
Season 2.
So there's that. Anyway, so and I knew like one, I had to get away for just brain space and pressure and all this sort of shit. And two, I decided that I was going to write a book. So I thought I'm going to take myself away for like 2 weeks, anywhere where they don't speak English, and just get the fuck out and focus on building out the book. And so I took myself to Sanur, which is in Bali, Indonesia, 2 weeks. And it was like go down to Victoria with the family, did Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and booked the flights for Boxing Day. So for me, there was like this massive relief because I had my get out of jail free card of like, I just need to get through Christmas and then I'm on a plane Boxing Day and then I'm out. You don't have to do that limbo between Boxing Day and New Year's. you know, that weird fucking limbo of, yeah.
I've had families stay for that.
Yeah, brutal. Anyway, didn't have to do that. And so then on a flight, flew into Indonesia, and then yeah, the rest is sort of history from there. That was I think my last strong memory, and I guess it was, I don't know, that one stuck for some reason. I'm sure I had some nice Christmases with my ex. I can't remember any of them at the time, and it was always, yeah.
The whole explanation of the holiday was enough, right? But what if there's a specific moment, right, in that entire thing that just was the turnkey thing that you'll look back on every single time? Is there, or was it just the experience in general?
No, I think it was a permission thing. It's like, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to book on Boxing Day. I am allowed to tap out of the holidays.
I can break free whenever the fuck I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, and my family didn't disown me. And yeah, there was a little bit of, you know, awareness that I'm booking flights for Boxing Day, so I'm basically saying to all of these people, I don't want to be here. And some of them might have taken it like that. I don't know. But we're still, you know, we've all just come from a 7-day trip in Phuket and everything was fine. But it was, I guess it was my permission, my ownership, my independence, my autonomy, and the fact that I booked my flights. I did this thing. I went solo to Bali, and then started writing the book, and then came back 2 weeks later, and blah 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 blah. That was a turnkey moment. Like, I'm allowed to do this, and I didn't have to ask anyone's permission. I didn't have to beg for forgiveness or anything afterwards. Boundaries, I suppose. And you're allowed to choose what you do with the holidays.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to land.
That's a beautiful place to land.
It's a nice place to land. Misfits, this will come out just before Christmas. So we hope there's some sixpences of wisdom within this Christmas pudding somewhere. Something that you can take away. For your benefit, this is our secret Christmas Misfit special. Season 3 launches the 4th of Jan in the States. So you have to wait 2 weeks. Or you can go to promisfitspodcast.com. You can find us at Camp Misfit. You can sign up and you can get all the advanced episodes and everything else 15% off until January 31st. That's our Christmas gift to you. Brody, any final words?
Take advantage of Camp Misfit. I'm just saying. We've got a ton of stuff on the website that's not just for the general misfit, right? If you're looking to do this thing for yourself, if you're looking to do this thing for yourself, we've built out resources and plans and tools and channels that you can communicate with us through, and go check it out. And 15% off on some of the services to my Professional Misfits is kind of a big deal. So give it a peep. For me, at least, very minimum, give it a little peep, and I'd be happy.
There's merch there as well, and everyone loves a Misfit tee. Everyone loves a Misfit tee at Christmas. But on that note, if you want all the bonus episodes and all the sexy things, you know where to go. In the meantime, Merry Christmas, Misfits. We hope you have a lovely, lovely holiday and a lovely New Year. And we will see you on the 4th of Jan. I've been Chris.
I've been Brody.
And you stay classy, Misfits. We'll see you next year.